Hey, folks, thanks for checking out Reigniting Liberty. I'm Deneen Borelli, and Dr. Tom Borelli is in the house, bringing you the truth in black and white. And folks, we have a guest, a great guest. He came back. He's still talking to us. Oh, my goodness.
Repeat
His name,
performance.
repeat performance. That's right. Abe Hamadeh, Republican candidate running for Arizona Attorney General. Abe is also an Army veteran and a former prosecutor. Welcome back to the show. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Deneen. Thank you, Tom. I'm not just a guest. You guys are my friends. We've known each other for 12 years now. You've seen me grow up, so I'm so honored to be on your show.
Where's my tissue? That's so sweet. Thank you. And it's so great to see the wonderful progress and steps you are making with your campaign. So bring us up to date. What is going on present day?
Well, we have 12 and a half days left until Election Day. It looks like we're up big in the polls, the energy, the momentum everywhere in the country. I mean, where you guys are, New York is in play right now. It's shocking, but Arizona right now, it's a red state and we're going to maintain it. But what's really neat about Arizona, I'm not sure if you guys are tracking, but all of us candidates are running together as a slate. I don't think we've ever seen this anywhere else in the country where, me, Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, we're all running together because we recognize our country's on the line and we have to save Arizona in order to save our country. So it's really a model to have the new Republican Party. We have our ideas. We're going to own it, and we're all political outsiders. So this is why we're unconventional. And it's been really amazing to see. It's been a rocket ship since, having Senator Rand Paul's endorsement, President Trump's endorsement. It's been really an honor of my lifetime, Deneen and Tom. And you've all seen me growing up. And it's, we're ready to take the fight back. We're going on offense. And the state attorney general's race is so critical because this is the one position that I think has been so neglected for too long. And if you just saw the other month where Biden wanted to have the debt forgiveness of $10,000, who fought him on that? It was the state AGs, and he actually had to roll back some of it. So they got rid of the private debt forgiveness loan. So this is where AGs are winning much more so than the people that we send to Washington. So I'm excited to join the fight.
So Abe, when you're on the campaign trail, what's the response you're getting from meeting the people throughout the state of Arizona? Do you sense there's an excitement in the air? And what are the issues that they're most focused on?
I wish I could tell you that there was one specific issue. Obviously, the border is the biggest, but it's really a totality of everything that's been going on for 2 years. Record inflation, right? 15% here in Phoenix area. Then you have the wide open border, 250,000 people crossing our southern border. The fentanyl that's being found in the millions, seems like on a weekly basis. But the energy is of excitement. I think so many Americans and Arizonans feel as if, too often we've just been punched and punched and punched. And this is our time to fight back to save our country. We see this election as a hinge election. This is going to determine our country's future for the next century. So that's where the energy is in the air right now. They recognize everything is on the line. Whether, the children's future, whether they're going to be forced to learn critical race theory and to hate our country and to have gender confusion, or whether we're going to be proud, patriotic Americans again. That's what's so interesting. We've been attacked on so many fronts in the past 2 years, whether it's big tech, big business, or big government, that we're really fighting back right now. And every Republican, every independent, they're flocking to us right now because look at the record rise in crime. I mean, how are we talking about crime when crime used to be the lowest, in the past 30 years, and now it's rising so quickly, and it's because of Democratic policy. So I think the day of reckoning of the media and the ruling class is coming on November 8th.
Well, you mentioned New York, for example, a lot of seats in play there. Tom and I, we reside in Connecticut. It's the same thing that we're seeing here. And we're working with some of the local politicians. We're volunteering, doing different things, getting involved. So we're seeing it up close and personal. So the momentum and the energy is certainly out there.
Certainly. I think you have a good congressman in play there actually in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken, with a Republican congressman, which who would have ever thought, right? I mean, this is what's Democratic policies have been so bad that even Oregon, I think Oregon is in play now with the Republican candidate. This is where Democratic policies have failed time and time again, whether it was the COVID lockdowns where they kept kids out of school for over a year, or whether it's the ending cash bail and the soft on crime policies, or here in the border states, right, where, you know, the record number of illegal immigrants flowing across because of Biden's wide open border. Every city that's enacted Democratic policies, we've suffered the consequences, and Americans are waking up to it.
So Abe, early voting, I believe, has already started in Arizona. And I also believe in Arizona, they still use the drop boxes. So compared to the 2020 election, what has the Republican Party done to ensure voter integrity?
Sure. Well, actually, Attorney General Brnovich, you know, they filed a lawsuit last year and they won it against the Democratic National Committee to ban ballot harvesting. So now the only ones who are allowed to take ballots to a drop box are immediate family members. And early voting has started actually October 12th. So we're already basically halfway done. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's kind of sad where it's election day has turned into election month. You know, I don't think that's what our founding fathers intended at all. But right now, the energy is real. We're really focused on election integrity. We have a lot of good attorneys, a lot of good poll watchers, a lot of volunteer activists. So, you know, we're going to make sure that this election is safe and secure. And, you know, here in August, we actually had a problem with our elections. In one particular county, in Pinal County, they ran out of Republican ballots. I mean, can you believe that? They ran out of Republican ballots. And, you know, that's unacceptable. And that's a civil rights violation. You know, I hope that does not happen again in the general election, because I think Republicans right now, they're voting in person on election day. So, you know, we have to make sure that we stand in line, get out the vote. But right now, looking at the ballot returns, it seems like it's going to be very, very favorable for Republicans. So we just got to continue the trend and finish what we started.
So how worried are the Democrats about you in particular, and how bad are the attacks that are coming out against you?
Right after we won the primary, they threw the kitchen sink at me. I mean, it was article after article after article in Huffington Post, national news outlets here in the local press is particularly bad. It's all the fake news propagandists of the Democratic Party that feed it to these journalists. But nothing is sticking. And I'm telling you, you know, the media and the Democrats are really worried about me. It's because I'm the son of Syrian immigrants, right? I'm an Army veteran, I'm a prosecutor, and I know how to communicate. So they're absolutely frightened. And actually, from the polling that we're seeing, we're winning. We're the only Republican statewide that's winning Hispanic voters. And we're really capturing so many different segments of the population that are flocking over to our campaign because, you know, immigrants and minorities, they're the ones who are being hit hardest by the Democratic policies, whether it's inflation or whether it's the rise in crime or the fentanyl in their communities. And that's why, you know, my message is really common sense. They're the ones who are extreme. I mean, having criminals on the streets instead of jail is an extreme policy position. And I punch back against the media because, you know, I recognize that they're the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. And, you know, we just have to, we're the ones with our core convictions that are common sense. And I think majority of Arizonans and Americans agree with them. And that's reflected in the polling, and it's going to be reflected with this red tsunami on November 8th.
You know, so Abe, we've been to Arizona, Dini and I, a number of times, in fact, a couple of times with Freedom Works at one of those free pack rallies. And I always thought that, you know, Phoenix was a safe city, you know, compared to where we're from. And I was surprised that there's a high crime rate there in Phoenix, as well as inflation. I think it's among the highest in the country. So what's going on in Phoenix?
Well, you know, we were obviously hit with the BLM riots that occurred 2 years ago and the whole defund the police movement. And what I tell people, what's worse than defunding the police, what the Democrats have done is they've demoralized them. And here in the city of Phoenix, we have a shortage of 1,000 police officers, and it's unsustainable. And Tucson, I think, is, you know, one of the record number rates for murder. I mean, the increase in murder in Tucson is exponential from this time last year. And in Phoenix has the highest number of attacks on police officers in the country. So this is where it's unacceptable what the Democrats have done. You know, I've been endorsed by every single law enforcement organization in Arizona, every single one of them, because they know I have their backs. Because without law and order, our cities and our communities turn into chaos and lawlessness. So this is where, you know, we're going to punch back right now, and we have to get good governance back in charge. And I'm really excited about the direction of our state once we take power back to us. And these rogue cities that has mistreated the law enforcement community, it's going to end on my watch. And I think that's exactly where people are so excited for Kari Lake and me. We did a joint press conference last month with the police organizations behind us, and the media came after us saying that law enforcement are racist. And me and Kari Lake, we just punched back. We defend our law enforcement officers, and that's exactly what they've been waiting for. Because too often, they don't have the backing of their city council or their mayors, and that's where I come in. And I'm always going to have the backing of our brave men and women in blue.
No, that is critical. What is some of the discussions that you've had with the men and women in blue, or border security, any of our law enforcement?
Yeah, so when you go down to the border, what's really interesting, Deneen and Tom, it's I went down there in Yuma. There's so much facets of what's going on, right? It's the illegal immigrants who are coming across. They're just walking across, actually. They're walking around the Trump border wall wherever there's gaps in. And then what happens, they're going into the arms of law enforcement, of Border Patrol. And they're being put on buses into Tucson and Yuma and then sent across all over the country. And what I witnessed was Indians, Chinese, Russians, every walk of life is coming across our southern border. They're paying the drug cartels $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to get them across. And that's DHS, Department of Homeland Security, just said that the cartels are making about $11 billion off that human smuggling operation. But I think it's much, much higher than that. But that's one aspect of the border. The other aspect are the illegal immigrants who are coming across in camouflage, evading law enforcement with all the drugs on them, or the ones who have criminal records or are possible terrorists, right? And that's what's so scary, is there's so many aspects. The drug cartels have total operational control. I mean, they have the budget of more of countries at this point. So this is what's scary. We have to get tough with Mexico. And here in Arizona, the federal government is no longer a reliable partner. That's why I'm excited to work with Kari Lake when she declares an invasion. I will have her back, but I've been saying that we got to declare the drug cartels as terrorist organizations, seize their assets, and have enhanced sentencings on them for any drug smuggling or human smuggling that and criminal activity that they're involved in. But that's the conversations I'm having. The law enforcement right now, the record number increase in crime in the cities, it's due to this culture where they feel emboldened to ignore police, right? Because they think that they're going to be released from the courts quickly. And you're seeing that play out across the country, in New York and California and Chicago. So, the police, they're demoralized right now, Deneen and Tom. And I'm telling you, come January, when we take office, it's going to be a culture shock, because we're going to get back and get tough on crime again. I've had conversations with Bernie Carrick. He's a former NYPD police commissioner. He's endorsed my campaign. He told me, he said, Abe, when Giuliani and him were in New York, they really cleaned up the city quickly. I mean, criminals behaviorally react really quickly once they know that law enforcement is going to get tough again. So I hope that trend continues when we take back office in Arizona.
So you mentioned that when Kari Lake gets elected, and when you get elected, that she's going to declare an invasion, I guess a state emergency. So if she does that, I would imagine that puts you in the front seat with respect to challenging whatever the Biden administration does to try to stop that. Yeah. Is that true, and are you prepared?
We will be prepared. And, Article 1, Section 10, gives us the authority, and that's what we're going to challenge. President Trump gave us really good Supreme Court justices as well as circuit judges. So now is our time to challenge our assumptions. I no longer see what's going down at our southern border as an immigration issue. It's a state sovereignty issue. Imagine for one moment the federal government removed every single Border Patrol agent from our southern border. Does that mean Arizona has no ability to protect our citizens and know who comes in and out? I don't think so. Arizona has that ability to, so that's what we're going to fight. But, even the federal government right now, they're just announcing they're trying to force Governor Doug Ducey to remove those shipping containers he put on the southern border to fill in those gaps. And Doug Ducey's pushing back against it, and I commend him for that. But this is where the federal government, it is a total dereliction of duty what they've done. And they cannot get away with this. Arizona has to protect our citizens, and that's exactly what Kari Lake and myself are committed to doing.
As a quick follow-up, I mean, as you mentioned, Governor Ducey put those shipping containers there, and apparently the Biden administration doesn't like it. So what are they going to do? Come down and move them physically? I mean, somebody's got to push back and say, come on and do it. And then think of the nice photo op that would be.
I think that's exactly why Doug Ducey has ignored their wishes, because there's nothing wrong with saying that we're going to secure our border because the federal government refuses to. So this is where I'm excited to take on the lawsuits, but also just having a good working relationship with Governor Kari Lake is going to be really critical. I mean, talk about the invasion declaration. Even current Attorney General Brnovich has said what's going down at the border can be classified as an invasion. So I'm going to continue that memo that he wrote. So I'm excited for January because I'm ready to sue the hell out of the Biden administration. I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. We're going to take back the U.S. Senate, take back the House of Representatives, and President Biden, his administration is going to come to a standstill once we have control of Congress and once we have control of these Republican AG's offices across the country.
Well, every time we see you on TV, you do a great job. And Kari Lake also does a great job. What is it like being on stage with her or at these different events that the two of you go to?
Well, the energy Kari Lake brings is, amazing. And it's, there's a real movement coming along here in Arizona. It's me, Kari Lake, Blake Masters. We have our Secretary of State nominee, Mark Fincham. All of us were Trump endorsed candidates, and we're working together. And the energy out here, we recognize Arizona is the last of the continental United States. We're the great state 48. We're kind of the baby of the United States, but we're going to be the ones who save our country. And that's why I think so many people are watching what's going down in Arizona right now, because there's such this energy with all of us political outsiders, right? I'll be the youngest attorney general since Bill Clinton, actually. And Blake Masters, he's also another young guy. I think he's 36 years old. We've got the energy, we've got the passion, we've got the right ideas, and we're going to take the fight to them. And that's what's so beautiful to see. When we're all on stage together, the energy is just eclectic. It's amazing. You can't replicate it. And I think we have another event coming up on Friday. All of us do. So the Trump rallies have been huge. I don't know if you saw the one that was in Arizona just earlier this month and the one in July. Just the number of record attendance levels is beautiful. That's why I'm really confident about this red tsunami that's coming, not just here in Arizona, but across our country.
So just as a quick follow-up to that, what's the difference in the political environment between 2020, when former President Trump lost Arizona, to today in 2020? Can you feel and sense that difference?
Well, I wasn't here in 2020, Tom. I was actually serving overseas with the United States Army in the Middle East. But what I think the difference, the COVID times particularly, right? We had COVID, we had the BLM riots, we had so many of these courts who were changing the rules in the middle of the game during the election process. People are fed up right now. Arizonans are fed up with the Democratic policies. I think that's the biggest difference. We can see so clearly in 2 years how quickly things have changed, under President Trump and under President Biden. And this is where I think it's going to be a referendum on the Biden administration come 12 days from now.
Yeah, that's so true, because the basic question for anyone is, are you better off under this current administration? And if people are saying otherwise, okay, you hold on to that dreamland. How can people help, and what is your website?
Absolutely. We're going through the final stretches right now. We're raising as much money as we can. Every dollar we're putting back on TV or on text messages, we're gonna cross through the tape. We're gonna run through the tape right now. So abeforag.com, ABEFORAG.com is my website, and my Twitter is at Abraham Hamadeh. And I appreciate you always spreading the word and getting the message out there to across the country, because I know when we save Arizona, we're gonna save our country. We're just getting started.
Abe Hamadeh, Republican candidate running for Arizona Attorney General. We want to thank you for your service. We greatly appreciate it. And we also want to thank you for coming on the show again, because we know you are very busy, and it's been amazing watching you grow up.
Right.
Thank you. I can't wait for you guys to come back to Arizona, come to my office at the Attorney General's office. It's going to be a great celebration.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. Folks, that's it for Reigniting Liberty. And remember, everyone has a role to play. What are you doing for liberty? Until next time.